worst punishments in human history. Now, y'all, name me some of the worst punishments that have ever happened to y'all. I really gotta think, and I'm like, damn. Let me think. One where they slice your balls open. Whipped with a metal ruler? Getting shot? Okay, none of this happened to y'all. I got hit with the frying pan. Nigga. Hold up. All that reminds me of when somebody says that is this. I got hit with a fucking whimsical fucking Tom and Jerry. His face ended up looking like this after the fight. Oh my god, get out of here. That doesn't actually happen. People actually don't hit people with frying pans. I'm breaking my arm. Yo, is it just me or like I wanted to break my arm when I was like younger because it was kind of cool to have a cast. I don't know, but I realized I was low-key a loser in school. So like I really wasn't gonna get a lot of people to sign my cast like that. All right, but let's go with the video. The worst punishments in human history.
Bad and slowly work. Let's start with the bad and slowly work our way towards the stuff of nightmares.
Okay.
Number 10, the Rat Dungeon. If you were alive in London, England during the medieval period, you would have definitely heard about the Rat Dungeon.
Oh, wait. Bro, I know some of these. Is this the one where they put the rat on your stomach? Oh, nah. I hope he doesn't actually show anything.
So this punishment struck paralyzing fear into the hearts of even the most hardened criminals. This was a cell that was located at the bottom of the London Tower, where prisoners were shackled and chained in complete darkness. But here's the thing. The dungeon was connected to the nearby river and just below the river's waterline, so that when the water levels rose,
I'm really thinking of it too. I'm gonna stop pausing after this, but it's crazy. Someone said New York City execution. It's really crazy. Like, they used to punish you for, what was it, like, stealing? Like, I know in the Middle East, they would just cut off your hands if you stole, and it would be like petty crimes, and you just get thrown in a dungeon and have rats eat your stomach out. If they bring that back, society would normalize a little bit more. Like, we'd have a little bit less crazy people nowadays. In the 21st
The rats
century
that lived along the riverbed would be pushed out of their shelters and forced to swim downstream. This would of course lead the hungry and angry rats towards the entrance of the dungeon, where they would then come face to face with the prisoner. But to the unlucky prisoner, he never actually saw anything, and all he would hear were the soft scurries of the rat's feet entering the dungeon. And in a matter of minutes, these soft noises were in the hundreds. And
bro, that's my worst fear. Hearing anything crawling around me in the dark, nah.
All around him. These angry and aggressive rats would then begin to take small bites from the prisoner, who had no way of defending himself. Now, he might be able to shake the rats off for a few hours, but eventually the prisoner would pass out from pure exhaustion. And while he slept, the rats would continue to take bites from his flesh. Eventually, when he would wake up, he would discover hundreds of bites throughout his entire body.
Oh my God.
But it didn't stop there. The prisoner was left here for days or weeks on end, depending on his crime. But towards the end of the medieval period, this form of punishment just got more and more deranged, eventually becoming a form of execution.
Damn, he just turned into a skeleton. Oh man.
Where prisoners would just be thrown in the dungeon and forgotten about. Number 9.
You had to have done some like crime. You had to have done some crime where you like, this is a serial killer ass execution right here. Like, this is honestly how serial killers nowadays, or school shooters or something, should be treated. But now they'll really be doing this because you stole like a 1-cent candy bar. Why his face look like that? Sat on the king's royal pissing tree.
9. The rack. This was yet another punishment that took place in the London Tower. The rack was a torture device that was used in many places throughout history.
Oh, this is a torture device, bro. Now they use this as a pleasure device. Am I right, guys?
This form of punishment was originally designed for getting a confession, usually from criminals, slaves, or prisoners of war.
What do you guys mean, no?
The device looked like a large ladder.
I swear I've seen one of these on like... Never mind.
But instead of secure steps, they would actually rotate like a rolling pin. You see, when a prisoner was placed on the rack, he would have his feet and wrists tied to a ratchet pulley system, where 2 legal officials would slowly
they stretch out their body,
tighten the ropes and locking them in place.
Hold up, hey, for short guys out there, this may just be a hype method right here. This may just be. Nobody's ever been crazy enough to try something like this. It's better than the new surgery they got for getting tall. You gotta like break your legs in half.
placing an increasing amount of strain on the prisoner's shoulders, hips, knees, and elbows with every single turn. This was all done to get information, but of course, a lot of the times the truth was not accepted as reality, and the prisoner would then begin to say whatever he believed the officials wanted to hear. Sometimes it would work and the prisoners would be let go, while other times they would be tortured even more for lying.
Okay, how did his face just rip off? That's literally impossible. That doesn't even make any sense.
When the whole ordeal was over, prisoners were usually released with dislocated joints, but oftentimes they were left completely paralyzed. That was the case in England in 1447 when a 25-year-old girl named Anne Askew would be tortured on the rack for hours and hours on end and left completely paralyzed after all her joints were dislocated. She was then carried on a chair and burned alive at the stake. All this because she read and memorized scriptures from the Bible, which she preached in private to a small group of women, which were the exact women she refused to name and expose during her torture. You see, during—
Bro, I'm telling y'all, for the littlest things, bro, it's not no joke. It's not no joke. For the littlest things. Yo, we gotta be grateful for the times we live in, bro. You steal like a little candy bar as a kid, you're all good, bro. The store might have not even seen it, or if they did, they would just tell you to put it back. You steal candy bars as a kid back then, they're doing this shit to you. They're doing this to you.
In this time period, if you followed any religion other than the Catholic Church,
it's Catholic, I'm tripping.
Better not say a word to anybody, including your own husband, which was the person that turned her in.
Oh my god. This is actually like so bad. Oh, husband, why'd you at me? Why did you at me with that message?
Number 8. Keelhauling. This brutal punishment was carried out at sea on sailors who would steal or be violent towards others and would usually result in death. Keelhauling would start with a sailor having his arms tied with a rope, then looped around the entire circumference of the ship before being tied off to his feet. The sailor would then be thrown overboard while the group of men—
Oh my god, wait!
Before being tied off to his feet. The sailor—
Bro, they actually did this? Like, they would actually, what do they call this again? What do they call this when they push somebody off a ship? It's on the tip of my tongue. It's on the tip of my tongue. They always say one thing. Walk the plank. Walk the plank. That's a real thing? Oh, no. That's just kind of... This is like a whimsical kind of goofy-ass death. Can't lie. He actually walked the plank, like from the poop deck.
Would then be thrown overboard while the group of men on board pulled on the rope to slowly drag him around the outside of the ship, including over the keel, which is how this punishment gets its name. But a lot of the times, the sailor wouldn't even have to worry about it, since they were dead before they ever reached it. Kinda just depends.
Y'all gotta think, bro. A ship is like all wood, bro. Or, okay, old ships were. So, like, splinters. You're just getting splinters, bro. Old dirt on the You wanna know what bugs are there?
How hard the guys on the rope feel like working that
Barnacles.
day. Not only would the sailors be drowning and getting their backs and necks broken on the keel, they were also getting sliced apart like a cheese grater by all the sharp barnacles on the outside of the ship.
Wait, how sharp is a barnacle?
But if by some miracle a sailor actually had—
I thought barnacles was like funny because of like SpongeBob. I would always see the little barnacles and I'd be like, oh, kind of want to touch them.
To make it all the way around the ship without dying, one of three things will happen. 1, he would be sent for round 2 and for sure be dead by then. 2, be freed and allowed back on the ship, where he would then slowly die to infections. Or 3, live the rest of his life single and being made fun of since he was now fully covered in scars from head to toe. Number 7, crushed by elephants. Now—
Okay. This doesn't happen. They did this?
We are getting to the part of the list where living is no longer an option. Goofy. This form of punishment has been used by many countries throughout history, but was most recently used by India in the 19th century, which is really not that long.
Wait, 19th century? 2 centuries ago? Y'all realize that, like, that's not remotely close to long ago. That's like, is that the 18th century?
Long ago, if you really think about it,
yeah.
Like, your great-grandma could have witnessed one of these. What type of crimes would you have to commit to be crushed by an elephant, you might ask?
Civil War?
Well, apparently if you failed to pay your taxes, that was good enough.
Okay, see. Thank God they don't have this, bro, because I would have been crushed by like 20 elephants at this point. I would have been crushed by like 50 elephants. I would have been done for. Dodged one on this one. Thank God for the 21st century.
And of course, stealing or being an enemy soldier was also a great way to become a tortilla. But the most disturbing case in history was when the fourth Mughal emperor of India...
this method. Wait, don't give them ideas, y'all. Do not give the IRS ideas, because y'all know, bro. They have no chill. They don't care. They will find you. They will probably implement this if enough people tell them.
Ordered an enormous amount of criminals to be crushed to death in a single day, simply because he was bored and needed some entertainment. The guy who forgot to pay his taxes.
Wait.
What did I just hear? Ordered an enormous amount of criminals to be crushed to death in a single day, simply because he was bored and needed some entertainment. The guy who forgot to pay his taxes, crushed. The man who stole an apple from the local market, crushed. The little orphan who jaywalked across the street, crushed. The man who murdered his neighbor and added his remains to a large pot of tomato soup, then fed that soup to his family and watched them eat it from the shadows with a creepy smirk on his face. He's alright. Apparently he makes a damn good soup. There are a few ways
I think that was real. No, that nigga deserves it.
This public execution goes down. But one thing always stays the same. There's always a guy on top of the elephant controlling its every move. And this was very intentional, as this was meant to showcase just how amazing the ruling class were. I mean, look at them. They can control an elephant. Now be impressed. The first method of execution was the one that you better pray for if this was going to be your fate. Here, the criminals would have their arms tied behind their back and their heads placed on a pedestal, where it was then crushed like a grape by the elephant's foot. Now, the second method is much more cruel. The criminal would be
Why is there so many methods for an elephant crushing somebody? Bro, just get it over with.
Flat on the floor with their arms tied behind their backs. Then the elephants would be guided to walk over the person's body, and hopefully the criminal would die on the first go. But sometimes they just end up crushing a leg or an arm, so the elephant then has to make a U-turn and try again and again and again. The final and worst way is when a highly trained elephant was guided to slowly crush the person limb by limb. They would first crush the arms, then the legs, and then poke holes in them with the tusk until eventually...
Okay. That is never necessary. Never. There's probably a couple people I can name that deserves this though, but like, oh my god. Poor elephant. Dealing
the final blow to the head or torso. This is the more theatrical route that rulers like the fourth Mughal love to take, and made for a truly traumatizing experience for everyone. Except for the fourth Mughal. He loved it. Number 6. Impalement. Probably one of the grossest and most cruel forms of punishment on the list. This has been used by a few countries throughout history, but was most recently used in Egypt in the 17th century, usually against criminals that were highway robbers, grave thieves, or anyone who would try and start a rebellion. This punishment would start by having a criminal lay flat on their stomach.
Impaled in the ass. Y'all know, I remember seeing there was this one torture method where they would actually do that. Like, they would just impale you in the ass. Like, that's how they would do it. They would slowly separate your body from your cheeks down to your torso. I don't know if that's this one, but like I remember seeing that.
Stomachs with their arms tied behind their back. They would then be sliced open with a razor to increase the size of their back door. And as soon as that incision was made, the cut would be lathered with paste to instantly...
Someone said nowadays that's normal. You're going to hell.
Stop the blood. They would then thrust in a long wooden stake that was the width of a man's arm.
What is his face? Why is he making that face? You didn't have to animate this. Like, we didn't need to see the face like this. I hope you know that. We did not need to see the face like this.
Which was sharply tapered on one end. They then begin to hit the wooden stake with the mallet, pushing it further and further.
Okay. Stop with the face. Stop with the face. I could literally just skip through the video, not even play the audio, and look at the face. Oh, a little bit too far. Come on, bro. We're better than this. Oh my god, bro's enjoying it.
Was sharply tapered on one end. They then begin to hit the wooden stake with the mallet, pushing it further and further in. And of course, the steak was greased up beforehand to make this process a lot smoother. And once the steak has popped out of the criminal's shoulder, head, or mouth, they were pretty much long gone. He is then planted next to a busy road, like a Halloween decoration, to remind everyone that this is what happens when you break the law. They will be left there for the entire day and removed the following morning before the body begins to stink. But wait, there's another version of this as well. You see, on some occasions, the criminals would only be impaled just deep enough to keep them in...
Okay, bro. Why did he add this rock? On the top. Rip little Timmy. No, that kid is traumatized. Bro, imagine seeing, like, you already saw gore videos when you were younger. Imagine seeing a gore video in real life, essentially, as a kid.
Place.
That's a hammer. That is not it. That's not a hammer.
Not too deep that it would cause immediate
Don't break
death.
the law, guys.
They would do this by having stakes that had a seated position on them to prevent the person from sliding down any further.
Oh, they were kind of nice. I mean, they were providing some back support, right? They're a little bit ahead of their time with ergonomics and stuff.
They would then be placed on a busy road where they would suffer for hours and hours, pleading to...
Oh, this is the... Oh, I was right. This is the one with the ass. Going up the ass. Yo, y'all better be careful for this. All y'all that sit in chairs also, make sure your chair is not too sturdy. I said, wait, why did I say all of y'all that sit in chairs? Who the is not sitting in a chair? But for all y'all, okay, look, all of y'all sitting in a chair right now. All of y'all sitting in a chair right now. Y'all know the actual, what is it called? No, okay. All of y'all sitting in office chairs. An office chair. A gaming chair. A chair that can move. Okay, make sure it's sturdy. Because I've seen videos where the main part of the chair, it will break off and then it will slip and then the person gets hit by the pole under. Like it goes right in their ass. There's a video. I remember seeing this one famous video of it. My father did it for me and that's my cue to start the video.
To people walking by for help until eventually succumbing to their wounds. Number 5. Poena cullei. Poena
The hell is that?
cullei is Latin for penalty
Is that fucking
of the
animatronics?
sack. And that's exactly what it was.
I don't think I can watch this.
Just a lot more terrifying and cruel. This was an exclusive punishment for anyone that would murder their own family members. This was first seen in the 2nd century in Rome, but would later be used by the Germans in the 18th century. This all begins with a convicted murderer being placed inside a thick leather bag.
No.
But just to make sure the man isn't lonely, they would then add a dog, a rooster, a viper, and a monkey. I don't know what these animals did to deserve this,
Dude,
but
the whole
hey,
animal
at least the
kingdom in
evil
there.
family murderer doesn't die alone. Once all the animals are added inside the bag, it is then sewn shut, creating an almost airtight seal. Now you would think this would be horrible enough, but no, this is just the beginning. Because as soon as the bag is sewn shut, it is then tossed into the ocean. But don't worry, later on, these murderers would be given the option to either be placed inside the leather bag or be sent to perform at the Colosseum, where they can perform the act of being mauled to death in front of all of their loved ones and peers. You know, at least...
Dude, what the... This is more wild than I ever could have imagined. More wild than I... Oh my god. They threw him off the ocean. This is like a fucking... This is like some shit I would think they would do in One Piece or something.
At least they had the option.
Like an evil leader in
Number
One Piece.
4. Rats.
Evil
This is one of the
pirate.
most sick punishments in all of human history, and it involves the use of rats. I will cover 2 of them here as they are very similar. The first use of this form of punishment dates back to
worship Rome as Greek Empire?
1568 during the 80 Years' War. A Dutch leader named Diederik Sonoy would often use this method of punishment, which involved placing a rat inside of a clay bowl, then placing it topside down on a prisoner's stomach,
Oh, I think I heard of
chest,
this.
face, or groin. Then the back
Now I have to
side
rewind
down
it.
on a prisoner's stomach, chest, face, or
Dude, who's doing these animations, bro? Look at this dude too. Like, why is he so happy?
groin. Then the back of the bowl would be heated with either a torch or some coals,
Ah.
causing the rat to go into a full-on panic, trying to escape from the heat. And its only way out was to burrow into the human. Once inside, it would continue to chew and tear apart whatever was in its way, desperately searching for a way out. Eventually, the rat finds its way out of the maze and survives. The same could not be said for the prisoner. But the second method was much.
That's like the worst feeling, bro. Y'all ever get the feeling like something is like crawling on your skin? Or just something crawling on you? Just something really crawling on you. That's the worst feeling. Like, this really hit me different. Somebody told me this. They could tell you something is crawling on you or spiders are crawling around you and you're gonna feel it in the next 5 minutes. So right now, y'all, you're gonna feel there's gonna be, you don't know if there's any spiders or ants crawling around you. In the next 5 minutes, you're gonna feel them. You're gonna feel it. Just because I told you that, just because your brain is hardwired like that, you're gonna feel something crawling on you. It's a psychology method. It's a psychology method.
Worse, and was highly secretive since it was used under the guidance of the dictator Augusto Pinochet, where he held power from 1976 through 1983. They called it the rectoscope. And I'm sure you have already figured out where this is going. Yes, it's exactly what you think. They would place a tube on a prisoner's back door, then insert a rat inside of the tube. The rat would then begin to burrow its way in. These people were so sick that they actually expected the prisoners to answer questions while this was going on. Eventually, the rat would find its way in and begin to move forward to...
Okay, how does that even happen? How does that even happen? That's impossible. You know how much it would have to be stretched? How much it would have to be stretched? Stretched. That's like this, okay? It's a rat, so it's probably gonna be bigger. That's like this, y'all. Okay? Probably like this. Y'all know, I think actually, like, they said our assholes, they can go up to 6 times. What is it? I think 6 times. Like, they can go up to our head size. Like, you could stretch it where it's like the size of your head.
Find its way out. Nobody really knows how many people died from this punishment, but we do know that a ton of people went missing when this dictator was in charge. Number 3, gibbeting. The last known use was in the early 1900s in Afghanistan. This all came to light in 1921 when the
It's Afghanistan. They're gonna go extra crazy on this one. You can stretch your asshole up to 12 inches wide. That's what I'm trying to tell them, Shark. I was trying to tell them that.
National Geographic published this image in their magazine. This was also used in the United States from time to time during the 17th and 18th century. One notable example was in Boston, Massachusetts, where a few pirates were hung at the Boston Harbor, which served as a warning to any sailors that were approaching Boston. Now let's talk about England, since they love this form of punishment so much. In England, this was used on traitors, murderers, pirates, and thieves. But after the year 1752, the Murder Act was passed, which required that all convicted murderers must be put to death by being publicly dissected or by gibbeting of some sort. And over 134 confirmed people met this fate. The most common form of gibbeting were actually cages, and they looked like this.
Oh my god. No, imagine walking and seeing your friend like set up like a street light or under a street light because he stole like some candy at the store. Of course, hold on. I need to search it up. The Murder Act just sounds wild. Oh, yep, it's real. Repealed 1973? Why so long? Why so long? Hey, UK, I think y'all have some things to address. No, what the hell? That had to have happened. So that happened in the 1900s. So somebody got the Murder Act in the 1900s.
It was an all-steel cage that was shaped tightly to the form of a human body, which was so tight that it would not allow the person inside to move. They were then hung 30 feet or more off the floor, usually on a public road or waterhole, to ensure that the most amount of people could witness this monstrosity.
That would work though, because like imagine seeing somebody just like this with this punishment. Nobody would ever do anything.
But I can only assume this was more annoying than anything, since every time you get thirsty and needed to fill up your container of water, you would have to deal with the dying man begging you for a sip.
Over here!
But the annoyance and torture of the public didn't stop there, because after the criminals would die in the cages, the body would be left inside to rot for years and years on end.
Okay, that would kind of be cool then. It'd kind of be like a skeleton decoration. That would be cool.
With the locals complaining that the smell of death was so pungent that they couldn't even sleep at night. There's even been reports that some human remains stayed inside of these cages for over 20 years before a government official would finally remember to clean it out. Number 2, Scaphism. This was a form of punishment that was used by the ancient...
What was that photo I just saw? I don't even want to see this whole entire process he's about to break down. I don't think I want to see this entire process.
Persian Empire on anyone that would be convicted of murder. First, the criminal would be placed inside of a boat on their backs and tied down. The boat had 4 holes cut out so that the person's arms and legs would be outside of the boat and in the water. They were then force-fed large quantities of honey and milk until their stomachs were visibly full. They would then proceed to lather their entire...
Oh, I know what's about to happen. Like animals are gonna come in or something and try to eat it through the stomach. I don't want to see this. I really don't want to see this.
...their body with the milk and honey as well. After all these steps were completed, he was then pushed out to the middle of the lake where he was completely exposed to the heat of the sun. But the sun would soon become the least of his worries. You see, the reason they fed him milk and honey was not because it was a great last meal, but because this combination causes a person to get extreme diarrhea, which mixed with the sweet honey attracts rodents, bugs, wasps, bees, flies, and whatever other animals live near the lake. After being tormented by the animals throughout the entire night, you would think that the daytime maybe gets a little better. No, because as soon as the sun rises the following day, the person inside of the boat gets another gigantic meal of milk and honey and an additional lathering. This would be done on a daily basis to prolong the punishment for as long as possible. It was also well documented that the rodents would continuously attempt to burrow inside of the person through their back door. They were probably trying to get a head start on their next meal. A writer named John...
That's probably a smart strat, though, for, like, one of the rodents, because think of it, all the rodents are going to be going from, like, the top, the chest, the legs, they're going to be going... The person that goes through the asshole, they're going to get it first. They're going to get the goods first. It makes sense, though. It makes sense.
Sonaris wrote in great detail about one of these incidents. He would go on to say that it was one of the most horrid and cruel forms of punishment since it was terribly long and seemed to have no end in sight. He wrote about a man who survived for an entire 17 days before he finally died from his wounds. Apparently, the man spent his last few days with his entire face completely covered with wasps and his flesh rotting.
I wonder if they have any photos of the aftermath of this, because I don't know.
Away, filled with swarms of parasites and worms, all while being covered in his own filth. Number 1. The oubliette. Oubliette simply means to forget in French. This was
so they just throw them down the hole. They just throw them in a hole.
Punishment that was used in many places throughout history, including in the London Tower, which had a small and confined room called Little Ease. Not only was this room pitch black, it was also so small that prisoners could not sit, stand, or lay down while inside it. And they would be...
Wait, sit? You can't sit, stand, or lay down? How's that even possible? So you just have to crouch or get in fetal position?
Left in this uncomfortable position for days on end. One of the most famous oubliettes is not the one in the London Tower, but in the neighboring district of Warwick, inside of Warwick Castle. Here, deep underground in the castle's dungeons, is a very small and narrow cell.
Oh, this just looks terrible. Like, this actually looks terrible. Oh, imagine this being like your last fate. You're just seeing this dungeon.
Completely made of stone, which has a metal door to close it shut. Prisoners were tossed inside of the cell and forgotten about, as the name implies. The prisoner would just have to sit there and wait for their inevitable death, which usually came in a few days from dehydration or starvation.
Honestly, I think this is more humane than almost all of these on here. Is this... Okay, this is 1. Did he say 10 was the most dangerous? I forgot what he said. Okay, I can see it in the snippet right here. I think that's 1 is Nightmare. This is Nightmare? Bro, the one we just saw before this is 100% Nightmare. Like, that is nightmare. That isn't even... That is the word nightmare. Like, you could put that picture in the dictionary of that punishment. That, like, for Nightmare. This is the most tame? Yeah.
Now, of course,
you just basically are left out to die and dehydrate.
This would be the best case scenario, because in reality, most of the time, there would already be a rotting corpse inside of the cell to keep the new prisoner company. The previous occupier of the cell would serve as a daily reminder of his upcoming fate. But that's not the only companions that he will have, since the underground dungeons are completely infested with rats that have developed a taste for human flesh. But wait, there's more. These oubliettes existed in many of the castles throughout Europe, and in recent times they have actually discovered these dungeons with dozens, if not hundreds, of human remains inside of it, as proof that they were hardly ever cleaned. Like in Leap Castle of Ireland, where in 1900, during the castle's renovation, a worker found a small opening behind a wall inside of the
you can see the rats, you can see the rats! Oh no, oh my god, this is so bad. This is the last thing you see before, like this hole right here, before you get thrown in this hole. This is the last thing you see.
This hole had an 8-foot drop that led to a large oubliette, and what the worker found inside shocked him, since it was filled with so many skeletons that they needed multiple cartloads to clear it all out. But just when you think the section is over, it just keeps on giving. You see, there's been many stories of men who have been placed inside one of these dungeons and kept alive for years and years on end, surviving off crumbs of food and minimal amounts of water, prolonging their inevitable demise.
Why even do that, bro? Just die. Like, I feel like just take it. What? Surviving off water, like licking the walls by the rain?
For as long as humanly possible. These cells were sometimes even placed on ground level so they can hear the voices and laughter of the people outside. An experience that they will never get again in this lifetime.
I still don't think this is number 1. The other one is way worse. Why live? There's no way to escape. There's no point. There's no point. Just call it quits. That was traumatizing. So guys, in conclusion, I think some of these punishments should be bring back though. But we should bring back these punishments for the following people: school shooters, rapists. What else? Let me know. Who else? Mainly the most disgusting serial killers. That's a good one. Serial killers. Amy Schumer. Oh, EDPs. Yeah, EDPs. You know what I'm saying? EDPs. Yeah, that would be a good one, actually. And then nobody would ever do it. Like, none of them would legit ever do it after seeing this. So, yeah, y'all, just stay safe and, be a good civilian. Be a good civilian.